Hello everyone, I'm Tanja Perko from Belgium Nuclear Research Center, and I'm social scientist, and I'm also vice president of the European Platform for Social Science and Humanities in Ionizing Radiation Research. In this presentation, I'm going to present what kind of contribution social sciences and humanities can give to norm management, to norm projects, to norm research, and so on. I'm presenting here the really known social science researchers from the Europe, and I will, during my presentation, also present the work of my colleagues all around the Europe that they already contribute to the norm management. Okay. So on the left slide, you will constantly, through my presentation, see inspiring examples that maybe you can use in your future norm projects. And on the left side, I will present always some text that will describe the most important contribution of social science and humanities to the norm management, to the norm projects. Why I'm doing this? Because we are sure, or all the research shows that the decisions related to norm management cannot be isolated from socio-political and cultural environment, and that for effective norm management, a holistic approach is needed. So in this presentation, I will focus on the need of social science and humanities in norm research and development. I will also show how can social science and humanities and norm work together. And like I already said, on the left side of the slides, you will see practical examples for your inspiration. First of all, I will start with one question. Have you ever needed to investigate social and economic factors in relation to norm? Or identify what is acceptable or tolerated by residents? Or measure latent constructs. Latent construct, this is a concept in psychology and social psychology. For instance, risk perception or trust are latent constructs which you cannot directly measure. We need to have a special tools for this. So have you ever needed to measure these latent constructs such as risk perception or trust, or try to understand behavior of residents in a norm site, or obtain a consensus on a particular decision related to a norm project? Have you ever needed to develop risk communication or even marketing strategy for norm-related projects or products? Include ethical, legitimate, and democratic consideration in your studies or projects? Or challenge norm researcher about research questions and hypotheses? Or understand what and why media report on norm issues? And there are many, many more questions. And if you had this kind of questions, it means that you needed to have a social scientist or humanist involved in your projects, because we are educated, we are trained, and we have experiences to investigate and to respond on all these questions. We apply particular scientific methods to do these things. On left side here, for instance, you see social science researchers investigating radiation protection culture of locals at T-norm site. They applied specific method, semi-structured interviews. Not everybody can apply the interviews, and these researchers, they received a special training for these things, and they needed to follow a strict protocol for this. Why I'm saying also, why I show this picture is also, if you can see here, this written radium strat, which shows that the norm or T-norm are strongly integrated in culture of this particular village. Okay, so what I would like to point out with this following slide is that social science, those disciplines that deal with human actions and its social and cultural aspects can contribute significantly and meaningfully to the management of exposure situations. I would like to point out that social science is not only one discipline. We have many disciplines under the umbrella of social science. For instance, economics, linguistics, political science, anthropology, communication, sociology, psychology, law, cultural studies, and even more. So the social science is not one discipline. We have a strict and dedicated disciplines for investigating these kind of aspects that they are strongly related to norm exposure situations. On left side, you see a social science researcher interviewing residents in a remediated legacy site. We applied face-to-face public opinion surveys in these things, computer-assisted personal interviews. And the researchers, they needed to put a really strong attention also to sampling. Who is going to respond at the moment that the researcher knocked on the door of the respondents? They need to follow a strict protocol, strict methodological rules. Who will respond on the questions? For instance, sometimes, quite often, we say that the person that the last celebrated the birthday in the house, because only this way we can get a representative sample. Usually, we see quite often that in norm projects, it's declared that the project is interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and sometimes even transdisciplinary. We can work norm and social sciences together. We can work in the different manners. We can apply like interdisciplinary methods. For instance, radiobiology, they can work for themselves. Political science, they can work for themselves. They can apply their methods and they can work in their own bubble in the norm project, or anthropology, the same. With the multidisciplinarity level, we exchange these different disciplines, they exchange with each other and they learn from each other. For instance, radiobiology can get informed from the political science what are concerns of the residents or leaders in this particular norm site. And then they can put more attention in their research and address those questions and those concerns. And opposite, the political science can also learn from radiobiology. For instance, they can take their results and they can, for instance, communicate these results to the political environment. Interdisciplinarity means that we work together, that we not only learn from each other, but that we develop concepts together. And transdisciplinarity means that we go beyond the academic research and we include also society at large. For instance, stakeholders, that they are not researchers, citizen scientists, and that we develop and address norm projects together. So on the left side, for instance, you see social science and humanity researcher who studies scientific knowledge production practices. What does it mean this? Here the social scientists observed with participant observation method, also strict scientific rules to follow, methodology to follow. These scientists observed the researchers. Why do they have this hypothesis and these research questions, and why not? And also not only how they formulate research question and hypothesis, but also what does it mean, what this hypothesis they do to the researchers. So participant observation method, really nice method that is highly advised in the norm management too. So if we discuss this interdisciplinarity, transdisciplinarity, multidisciplinarity, and so on, we would like to point out that it's not always needed that we go to the higher level, to transdisciplinarity. It's also completely valid to do the research, also social science research inside of one discipline, or connect together or so on. It's not needed that it's always mixed and to go that it's on the higher level. That's why we also, social scientists, we also have our own strategic research agenda. This strategic research agenda is published on our internet page, which you see here below. However, I would like to point out that all this strategic research agenda, all 6 research lines that we point out there, they are extremely applicable also to all norm projects and norm research and development actions. The first research line deals with factors influencing perceptions, expectations, and behavior regarding radiological protection and applications of ionizing radiation. So here we are investigating political, cultural, and so on environment, and we try to identify which are these factors that they influence the behavior of people, perceptions, and so on. The second research line addresses holistic approaches to the governance of ionizing radiation exposure situations. We really pointed out the different topics, including the norm topics, that they are needed to, they need the research to empower or to help in the holistic approaches to the governance of the norm situations. The third research line addresses responsible research and innovation in radiological protection and also applications of ionizing radiation, that the research addresses societal concerns and societal needs, we ensure in this research line. And then fourth research line addresses stakeholder engagement practices in relation to radiological protection and application of ionizing radiation. So we are looking how to engage stakeholders, motivations, what are the inspirations, we even develop a special methods how to engage stakeholders. But I really invite you to open this strategic research agenda and to look what kind of topics are needed to be, where we need to do additional research that we will improve stakeholder engagement practices. The fifth research line addresses risk and health communication, and the sixth research line addresses radiological protection culture. On left side of this slide, you can see social science and humanity researchers during psychosocial studies of the phosphogypsum sponge, and the method is participatory workshop. This method we applied quite often already in the previous norm projects. For instance, this particular picture comes from the territories project. And I would like to point out that the social science and humanity communities is already visible in holistic norm research and development projects. Here you see quite some social science and humanity researchers from the Europe, that they are that they come from the SHARE platform. If I would point out some disciplines that they cover, for instance, you can see psychologists, you can see a person that deals with ethics, you can see sociologists, politologists, anthropologists, environmental anthropologists, and so on. So we have a lot of disciplines, and we have in Europe, we have a strong capacity which you can engage in your norm projects. One of those holistic projects related to norms is also RADONORM project, which started 1st of September in this year. And in this RADONORM project, it was recognized that social science and humanities, they can meaningfully and significantly contribute to the research and development, to the innovation action related to management of radon and norm. For instance, one full work package is dedicated for social science and humanities research. And in this work package, the social scientists, they will tackle the norm issues on the different levels: individual, interpersonal, organizational, community, and societal level. What they will do is that they will, first of all, improve the systematic and methodological approaches. For instance, for socioeconomic studies, we know that now all possible variation of questionnaires are applied, but these latent constructs are often measured, like risk perception, trust, fears, concerns, and so on, are quite often measured on an extremely weak way. So the social scientists and researchers, including experts on methodology and public opinion and so on, they will improve methodological approaches, not only empirical, not only quantitative, but also qualitative approaches. And at the end, we will have a nice databases where you will also be able, open databases where you will also be able to download questionnaires, protocols, everything what is needed for the methodological approaches in the norm situations. The second objective is that the scientists will address value action gap by innovative communication approaches. When we are talking about this value action gap, it's quite often that we present this gap between the awareness and action in the radon field. We know that people are aware of the radon, that the different activities on the national levels, they empowered people to understand that they live on the radon-prone area and what the risks are of the radon. But still, people, they don't change their behavior. They don't apply the remediation actions. They don't measure their houses, although if they know that there is possibility that they live in the area where the radon can, where is the radon and where the concentration of the radon can exceed the norms. So in this project, the researchers will tackle this value action gap by innovative communication approaches. They will tackle it on the two different ways, and one way it will be more subconsciously, and one way it will be systematic, will encourage systematic information processing. And at the end, they will see and they will be able to advise what kind of communication approach you can apply in your norm or radon situations. They will be really open and really innovative. For instance, they may engage the radon or norm questions and issues in the soap opera. They will employ the influencers on the social media to talk about the radon and so on. But on the other hand, they will also encourage the discussions and engage with the stakeholders also on political level in some countries. So we will do different experiments, and then we will see which communication approaches are the most effective to address this value action gap. Then the researchers in Radionorm, they will also explore perception of specific exposure situations, and they will address the controversy to different exposure situations. For instance, one of the biggest controversies is radon's pass, where they present radon as a treatment, comparing to the radon as a health risk to develop lung cancer in the same country. So the researchers, they will explore this controversy. The next thing that they will explore is also norm for building material. They will try to improve the marketing methods to use the norm material for buildings. And they will also explore the geothermal energy in relation to ionizing radiation. How the industry, how the authorities take the radiation protection and radiological risks into account when they promote geothermal energy. All these results will be taken into the science-based policy recommendation. So we will develop recommendations for the policy on the national or international level, but not only based on the gut feelings, but really based on science, on theory, on empirical results, and the knowledge that will be gathered through this project. Social science community provide also advice and stimulates common understanding on the integration of social science and humanities into activities of other relevant networks and projects. For instance, we strongly collaborate with all radiation protection platforms. We give the advice to different projects, but we also contribute to awareness and understanding of societal issues and concerns related to norm among all stakeholders. And we advise also to policymakers and other organizations in all fields related to norm. And of course, we participate in norm-related events. Here on left side, you see two social science and humanity researchers. One of them, for instance, is environmental anthropologists, contributing to the holistic approaches to decision-making and environmental remediation projects, online seminar, which was organized together with Catrinel Turcanu and Horst Fernandez Monken, who is also our officer now for this conference. Really well followed webinar, which you can still see on the internet page. So in general, SSH community, social science and humanities communities, builds also capacity for social science and humanity research in all fields relating to norm, and contributes to norm-related education and training. We have lecturers that you can embed in your programs. We give lessons. We give courses, we moderate sessions, and so on. And everything what we do is theory-based, it's evidence-based, and it's also strategic. On left side, for instance, you see social science and humanities researchers with students at risk communication training related to radon. In this case, there was a 3 days long interactive workshop. And it was really strongly based on the theory, on evidences that we were able to collect related to radon. And this workshop has been also organized by IAEA, International Atomic Agency. So if I go back to my first slide, have you ever needed to do some of those things? You know, investigate human behavior, or identify what is acceptable or tolerated by residents and so on, then in this case, you really need to integrate social sciences and humanities researchers in your norm projects. You need to get an advice from experts in social science and humanities, to attend at least course, lectures, trainings, or social sciences and humanities methods and theories, that you will know what you do and why do you do these things, and that you will do it well. And of course, it's really good if you invite social science and humanities community to your norm-related events and projects. It's quite easy to do this. You don't need to browse on the Google where to find these researchers. Just go on the SHARE platform, European platform for social sciences and humanities research related to ionizing radiation. We really welcome you. And there in this platform, with our mission to stimulate the integration of social science and humanities in research, practice, and policy related to norm, for instance, we will then we can advise you to which expert you can go, to which expert can respond to your questions, or we can advise you which experts or which institutions they have capacity to provide you theory-based, empirical-based, and strategic concepts for your radon and norm projects. So we would like to welcome you here. And of course, today also our experts are online and they can respond to your questions. Many thanks for your attention.